English podcast.
Hey, English learners! Welcome back to the English Conversation Podcast, your cozy little place to learn easy English through real, everyday conversations. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Ethan, and today we're talking about something very small, but somehow very powerful.
And also a little scary.
Yes, tiny conversations, big fear, very unfair.
Very unfair.
Because today we're talking about small talk.
Ah, yes. Those little conversations you have with a neighbor, a colleague, someone in a lift, someone in a shop, or that one person standing next to you in total silence.
The dangerous silence.
Yes. The silence where suddenly your brain forgets every word you have ever learned.
Exactly. You know English. You really do. But in that moment, your mind says, "Sorry, closed today."
Yes, closed today is very real.
And the funny thing is, small talk looks so easy when other people do it.
It really does. You see two people talking about the weather, a dog, a coffee, the traffic, and it looks so natural.
But when it is your turn, suddenly saying, "Nice day today," feels like a public performance.
Yes. And I think that is why this topic matters so much. Because small talk is not just small.
No, it is often the beginning of connection.
It can make a place feel warmer.
It can make you feel more confident.
And honestly, it can make daily life feel easier.
Also, let's be honest, it can save you from standing in a lift like a decorative plant.
Yes, a very polite decorative plant.
Very polite.
Let me ask you something, Ethan. Do you think people are more afraid of making grammar mistakes or of feeling awkward?
Awkward. Definitely awkward.
Same.
Because grammar mistakes are one thing, but awkward silence, that stays in the soul for a while.
That is true.
But that is exactly why we wanted to do this episode, because small talk is a skill.
Yes, it is not magic.
You do not need a perfect personality.
You do not need a perfect accent.
And you definitely do not need perfect English.
You just need a few simple ways to begin, a few ways to keep the conversation moving, and a calmer way to think about it.
That is such a good point. A calmer way to think about it.
Because once your mind relaxes, your words usually come more easily.
Usually, not always, we are still human.
Very important reminder.
So, in this episode, we're going to talk about why small talk feels awkward, how to start it, how to keep it going, what to do when things get weird, and how to end a conversation politely.
And we'll keep it simple, natural, and very real.
And before we go deeper, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode with someone who might need it too.
And this is a B1 level episode, so relax. You do not need to understand every single word. Just listen, enjoy the conversation, and let your English grow naturally.
And later in the episode, we'll have our word tour too, where we go back through some powerful words, idioms, and phrasal verbs from today's discussion in a simple, clear way.
So stay with us for that.
And before we begin, one quick question for everyone listening.
When was the last time you wanted to say something simple?
But your brain suddenly gave you nothing.
Yes, that moment.
If you know that feeling, this episode is for you. 1. Why small talk feels so awkward at first.
So maybe this is the first real question. Why does something so small create so much pressure?
Yes, because the strange thing is, small talk is usually simple, but the feeling around it is not.
I think part of the problem is that it happens in real time. There is no pause, no time to prepare. It is just you, another person, and that little moment.
Exactly. And when a moment is simple, people often think they should be naturally good at it.
Yes, and then if they feel awkward, they judge themselves very quickly.
So now it is not just a conversation. It is pressure, self-consciousness, and silence all together.
And silence can feel much bigger than it really is.
Especially in English, because then you are not only thinking, what should I say? You are also thinking, can I say it correctly? Will I sound strange? What if I freeze?
Yes.
And once all those thoughts arrive at the same time, the moment starts feeling much heavier than it should.
Which is why I think many people struggle with small talk for the wrong reason.
What do you mean?
I mean, they think the problem is, I'm bad at conversation.
Ah,
When actually, very often, the problem is just tension. Too much tension for a very small moment.
yes, that feels true.
Because if you remove a little of the pressure, the words usually come much more easily.
And that is where this idea matters so much, being at ease.
Yes, at ease means relaxed and comfortable, not fighting the moment, not trying to be impressive, just being there.
I love that actually, because small talk gets easier the moment you stop treating it like a test.
Yes, nobody is standing there with a notebook giving you a grade for saying, nice weather.
Thank goodness.
And honestly, the goal is not to sound brilliant.
No, the goal is to make the moment feel easier.
For yourself and for the other person too.
Exactly. Sometimes the best small talk is just what puts someone at ease.
Yes, if you put someone at ease, you help them feel less nervous, less awkward, more comfortable.
And that is such a beautiful skill.
It really is, because people remember that feeling. They remember the person who made the moment lighter.
Not louder, not smarter, just lighter.
That is lovely.
Write that down. That was one of your good lines.
One of them? That hurts.
I said one of them. Be grateful.
Fair enough.
But really, I think that is the heart of this point. Small talk feels awkward when we make it too big in our head.
Yes, when really, it often begins with something very small. A smile, a comment, one simple sentence.
And once you see that more clearly, the next question becomes easier. 2. The easiest ways to start a conversation.
Right, because then you can ask, okay, so how do we actually begin?
I think the easiest answer is this. Start with what is already there.
The weather, the place, the situation, the long line, the hot day, the dog with better hair than all of us.
Yes, that dog always exists.
And I like this because it takes the pressure off. You do not need to invent a genius opening line. You just notice something simple.
And also, the way you say it matters. People feel more open when you seem approachable.
Yes, approachable means easy to talk to, friendly, not cold, not closed off.
It can be your smile, your tone, your eye contact. Even your first sentence can feel approachable.
Right. There is a big difference between, it is busy here today, isn't it? And sounding like an angry weather report.
Very true.
And once the moment feels light enough, you can strike up a conversation.
Yes. If you strike up a conversation, you start talking in a friendly, natural way.
Not in a big, complicated way.
No. Please do not walk up to someone at the supermarket and say, I feel destiny has brought us to the bread section.
Please don't.
That would be memorable, but not helpful.
So a simple opener can be enough. It's really hot today. This line is so long. That cake looks amazing. Your dog is beautiful.
Yes. And the magic is not in being perfect. The magic is in sounding human.
I love that because people are not waiting for perfection. They're waiting for warmth.
Or at least normality.
Honestly, yes. Small talk works best when it feels ordinary.
So if someone listening is thinking, but my English is simple, that is okay.
Simple is often better.
Much better.
Because the point is not to impress, it is to connect. 3. How to keep small talk going naturally.
Okay, so let's say the conversation has started.
Right, nobody ran away. Good sign.
Excellent sign.
Then the next question is, how do you keep it alive without making it weird?
And I think the answer is, be curious and listen carefully.
Yes, because good small talk is not only about starting, it is about responding.
Exactly. If the other person gives you something small, use it.
Like if they say, oh, I went to a bookstore this weekend.
Then you can ask, oh, really? What kind of books do you like?
That makes the conversation more engaging.
Yes, engaging means interesting and enjoyable. Someone who is engaging makes the conversation feel alive.
And that usually happens when you do one very simple thing.
You follow up on what the other person said. You follow up on what the other person said.
Exactly. If you follow up on something, you ask more about it. You do not just let it die there.
So instead of jumping to a completely new topic, you stay with what they gave you.
Like catching the ball and throwing it back.
Yes, that's a lovely way to explain it.
And thankfully, this kind of catch does not require any actual sporting skill.
Which makes it perfect for both of us.
But really, that is why some conversations feel easy. Not because one person is amazing, but because both people are doing this little game well.
Listening, then giving something back.
And it does not have to be a huge follow-up either. Just one more question, one more little step.
What did you think of it? How was that? Do you go there often? Was it fun?
Small questions, big difference.
Yes, and when you do that well, people feel heard.
Which is one of the nicest feelings in conversation.
It really is, because once someone feels heard, the whole talk becomes easier. 4. Why open questions work better than yes or no questions.
And I think that brings us to a really useful part of small talk.
Yes, the kind of questions we ask.
Because sometimes a conversation does not end because people are rude.
It ends because the question was too small.
Exactly. A question can sound perfectly fine, but still give the other person nowhere to go.
Yes, sweet little conversation killers.
Exactly.
For example, did you have a good weekend?
And the other person says, yes.
And then both people are just standing there, holding the broken conversation.
Yes. It falls to the floor immediately.
That is why open questions work better. Questions with what, how, why, or which give people more space.
And to ask those well, it helps to be observant.
Yes, observant means good at noticing things. Feelings, details, little clues.
Like if someone says, I went to a new cafe, an observant person does not stop at cafe. They hear a chance to ask, oh, what was it like?
Exactly. And the other important quality is being genuine.
Yes, genuine means real and sincere, not fake, not asking just because you think you should.
People can feel the difference.
They really can. A genuine question feels warm. A fake one feels like homework.
Hello, human. Please give more details so I can continue my exercise.
Terrible energy.
Very terrible.
So the secret is not only ask open questions,
It is ask open questions with real curiosity.
because that is what makes the conversation breathe.
And once you stop trying to control every second of the talk, something else becomes easier too.
Handling the awkward moments. 5. What to do when the conversation gets weird or awkward.
Ah, yes, real life.
Real life indeed.
Because sometimes small talk is lovely, and sometimes it becomes strange for no clear reason.
Yes, like when you smile and say, that sounds exciting, and the other person says, it really isn't.
Yes, and suddenly you do not know whether to laugh, apologize, or quietly disappear.
Exactly. And your brain starts looking for the emergency exit.
And that is why the most important thing here is, do not panic.
Right. A weird moment is not the end of the world.
Sometimes people just need a little time to warm up to each other.
Yes, if you warm up to someone, you slowly become more comfortable with them.
So maybe the first minute feels awkward, but the third minute feels easier.
Or maybe the person is just a little strange.
Also possible, very possible.
Very.
But that is why you stay light. Smile, breathe, answer simply. Keep moving.
You do not need to rescue every awkward moment.
No, some moments are allowed to be awkward.
That is such a freeing truth.
It really is. Because once people stop fearing awkwardness so much, they become braver.
And bravery matters more than smoothness, honestly.
Much more.
A slightly awkward human is still better than a perfect robot.
Always. 6. How to ask when you do not understand a word.
And actually, that leads us to another moment that makes a lot of English learners nervous.
Yes, the moment when someone says a word you do not understand.
Exactly. And this part matters so much because this is where many people panic.
They really do. One unfamiliar word appears.
And suddenly it feels like half the conversation disappears.
Yes, because now your brain is trying to do two things at once.
Stay in the conversation,
And guess what that word meant?
and that is where you have a choice.
Pretend or ask.
Ask.
Always ask.
Because asking is not weakness, it is communication.
And honestly, most people do not mind at all.
Yes, usually they are happy to explain.
You can say, "Sorry, what does that mean?" Or, "Sorry, what do you mean by that word?"
And doing that actually makes you sound more articulate, not less.
Yes, articulate means able to express yourself clearly and well.
So an articulate speaker is not someone who knows every word,
No. It is someone who knows how to keep the conversation clear.
which is much better than just standing there like a polite scarecrow.
Yes, no scarecrow energy,
So if you do not understand, ask.
because that keeps the conversation alive.
And it shows that you really want to understand the other person. 7. How to end a small talk conversation politely.
And now, the part many people forget.
The ending.
Yes, because starting is one skill, but ending well is another one.
Yeah, some people do not know how to leave, so they just stand there smiling, longer and longer, until the moment becomes strange.
That long goodbye face.
Exactly.
But polite exit phrases help a lot.
Things like, well, it was lovely talking to you, but I should get going.
Or, "I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it was really nice talking with you."
That feels warm and respectful.
Yes. And sometimes, if the conversation went especially well, you can feel that you really hit it off.
Exactly. If two people hit it off, they connect very quickly and naturally.
And that is such a lovely feeling.
It is, but even then, it is still good to end clearly and kindly,
Because a good ending leaves a good feeling.
and saves both people from becoming trapped in the parking lot for 27 minutes.
Very important social skill.
Extremely important.
So maybe that is the final message of today's episode.
Small talk does not need to be perfect.
It just needs warmth,
A little courage
real curiosity.
and kind timing.
Yes. Start simply, listen carefully, ask openly, stay human, end politely.
And little by little, those small talks stop feeling small.
They start feeling like the beginning of real connection.
And that feels like the perfect place to pause for a second.
Yes, because today we use some really useful words and phrases.
So let's slow it down now and move into our word tour.
And let's begin with the phrase "at ease."
If you feel at ease, you feel relaxed and comfortable.
For example, she felt more at ease after the other person smiled and said hello.
Or, good small talk helps people feel at ease. Repeat, at ease.
At ease. Next is the idiom "put someone at ease."
If you put someone at ease, you help them feel less nervous and more comfortable.
For example, his friendly tone put me at ease right away.
Or, a warm smile can put someone at ease in an awkward moment. Repeat, put someone at ease.
Put someone at ease. Next is approachable.
Approachable means easy to talk to, friendly and open.
For example, she looked approachable, so I felt comfortable saying hello.
Or, a calm smile makes you seem more approachable. Repeat, approachable.
Approachable. Next is the idiom strike up a conversation.
If you strike up a conversation, you start talking to someone in a friendly, natural way.
For example, he struck up a conversation with the man standing next to him in line.
Or, it's easier to strike up a conversation when you talk about something around you. Repeat, strike up a conversation.
Strike up a conversation. Next is engaging.
Engaging means interesting and enjoyable to talk to.
For example, she was so engaging that the conversation felt easy.
Or, An engaging speaker listens carefully and responds warmly. Repeat. Engaging.
Engaging. Next is the phrasal verb follow up on.
If you follow up on something, you ask more about it after the other person mentions it.
For example, he said he visited Italy, so I followed up on that and asked which city he liked most.
Or, good small talk grows when you follow up on what the other person says. Repeat. Follow up on.
Follow up on. Next is observant.
Observant means good at noticing small details.
For example, she was observant enough to notice that her colleague looked tired.
Or, observant people often ask better questions. Repeat. Observant.
Observant. Next is genuine.
Genuine means real, honest, and sincere.
For example, his interest in the conversation felt genuine.
Or, people respond well to genuine curiosity. Repeat. Genuine.
Genuine. Next is the phrasal verb warm up to.
If you warm up to someone, you slowly become more comfortable with them.
For example, she was shy at first, but she warmed up to me after a few minutes.
Or, some conversations need a little time before people warm up to each other. Repeat. Warm up to.
Warm up to. Next is articulate.
Articulate means able to express yourself clearly and well.
For example, he was articulate and easy to understand.
Or, you do not need perfect English to sound articulate. You just need clear, simple words. Repeat. Articulate.
Articulate. And our last one is the idiom hit it off.
If two people hit it off, they connect quickly and easily.
For example, we hit it off right away and talked for 20 minutes.
Or, sometimes one small conversation is enough to help two people hit it off. Repeat. Hit it off.
Hit it off.
Those were some really useful words and phrases.
They really were. And I think they all show something important about small talk.
Yes, small talk is not really about being perfect.
It is about being warm,
Being curious,
being present.
and being brave enough to begin.
Because a simple conversation can do more than people think.
It can make someone feel comfortable.
It can make a moment feel lighter.
And sometimes, it can become the beginning of real connection.
So if small talk has always felt awkward for you, that is okay.
Yes, you do not need to be amazing at it right away.
Just start small.
Stay friendly,
Keep listening.
and let yourself grow more natural with time.
And if this episode helped you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who might enjoy it too.
Take care of your English.
And take care of your heart. This is Chloe.
And this is Ethan.
Bye.